What's up, guys? Nate Fenwick from Fenwick the Futures, and I'm here with
Adam Ingram Perry, and I'm happy to be here.
As most of you guys might know, I released a music video for my song called Safe on my Visionaries album, and Adam here is the brilliant mind that put this music video together. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Adam and I both went to film school together, actually. I was there to be a film music, TV music composer, and he was there for film directing.
I was going to trade you. I'll make you a music video, and you do a score for my 10-minute film.
That's what it was. So I still owe you a score.
I'll still take it as soon as I get something pulled together again.
I'm excited to do this with you, man. A lot of people have been asking about the video and how it was made, also about the song and what it's about. So a lot of times people ask me, is this song about this or is this song about that? Usually my answer to that question is yes, because I like to write my songs in a way that hopefully can be personal, up to interpretation for the listener. The overall plea in the song is written to someone who is struggling with, suicidal thoughts, and the underlying emotion or tone is inspired by that psychological distress and heartache that it causes to those on the surviving end of it. I started writing this song and even started the recording process. I got a phone call, not the kind of phone call that anyone deserves to get. It was a friend of mine calling me to tell me that another friend of mine had just passed away, and I knew without them even telling me that it was suicide, and I just literally could not finish writing the song. Like, I had to put it away on the back burner. It was like 6 months to a year before I could even think about potentially going back to it, and I'd even questioned if I even wanted to finish the song. Ultimately, I think I needed to experience the surviving end of this type of tragedy in order to really put my whole heart and soul into this song in the end. This happened right before I started singing vocals. So after I was finally able to come back to it, I was able to record those vocals and hopefully capture that. And even now, the song for me serves as a purpose in a positive sense. I have someone even closer to me now that is going through a similar struggle in their life. But this song now, it serves as a way, as a code word, you could say, between me and this other person. I'll ask them from time to time, hey, are you safe? That word safe is like that code word between me and them to check in. And having that helps us both stay connected and helps them feel like I'm always here for them, that the door is open for them to come to me when they're not feeling safe. And so that's the hope, at least. Anyway, that's my background of the song.
Those thoughts and these stories that you've told me did not leave my mind while I was in the process of making it, and it kind of gives it a certain mood while you're creating it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So yesterday somebody was asking me, how did he put your face on a TV? Like, did he animate the TVs? He thought that you actually animated the TVs, but I said, oh no, he dragged the TVs around the beach in a wagon. And I mean, can you talk about that?
I happened to make a couple of fortuitous phone calls and get my hands on a couple of old late 90s era TVs that still had they had the tubes in them.
Right.
And I actually didn't find out until after I had already basically broken them that there are chemicals. There are chemicals inside the TV that you really don't want to come into contact with.
Oh my gosh.
I guess I was playing with fire a little bit with those kind of TVs.
Yeah.
I didn't want some kind of flat screen, more modern era TVs. I wanted those big bulky ones that I remember from when I was younger. I mean, that big one, the lower one, probably weighed 80 or 90 pounds.
And you were lugging that thing up and down the beach.
Yeah, up and down the beach.
Oh, man.
I took pieces of construction paper that had this specific green tint, and I rubber cemented them to the screen of the television.
So cool.
And what that allows me to do is I can select that specific shade of green and cancel it out and replace it with whatever I want.
Right. Now, at the beginning of this process, though, you and I talked on the phone about, so what do we do with this? We're on opposite sides of the country. We're in quarantine. There's a pandemic right now. How do we do this? And originally we were just talking about doing shots of nature and shots of just different cool things that inspired you from the song. At what point did you, because this was all you, at what point did you come up with the idea that, I'm going to throw this whole TV idea in there? And
I started filming it at the North Carolina coast, which is where I shot this whole thing. Yeah. And I started going out. The first shots I got were the sunrise and sunset. And some of the things of the storm, and I started trying to put together a timeline and immediately I was just hit with an artistic existential crisis of like, no.
Yeah.
I got really down actually for like a day.
Yeah.
Even though I knew I didn't want it to have a story, I discovered quickly in trying to piece this thing together there had to be a thread.
That's a good way to put it.
Because editing is like sewing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the thread, then you just have a bunch of pieces. Right. I was like, okay, there has to be a character. There has to be a character. And then I think what came into play was this idea of social distancing and what was going on with the virus and how our relationships with people began to become about interaction through screens.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what if I put him on the screen?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about you being in the video already as more like I was going to put your face in the sun.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Ocean,
yeah, we filmed me singing the song, and at that point though, you hadn't had the TV idea until after I sent that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was like, I already had this video of his face. What if we put it on a screen where the two TVs stacked? The comparison I was making in my head was a snowman.
Right. Yeah.
like these different sections.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if we put the TV here with his face, and then there's a bigger one underneath it with his torso,
right.
and then we have this wooden table, which I built out of scrap wood I found. That was the legs.
That's so cool.
I was like, okay, so I've got a character now,
right?
Which is Nate on the TV, and I can take these TVs on an adventure.
And I don't know if you planned it this way, but I thought it was cool how progressively also you're losing pieces of this character. Like you lose the legs, you lose the table. At some point you lost the guitar and it was just the head until the head is about to be carried out to sea, which I thought was awesome.
Then you came up with a really cool idea. Maybe they were in the garage this whole time. Maybe this is all just happening up here.
Yeah, because there's a point where you like zoom in to the face at the beginning, and then I love how you brought in the pier that you're like zooming over. It kind of symbolizes like going deep inside the mind, which is a lot of this song is all mental, a lot of inner demons, inner thoughts.
The one thing I did know was that I'm going to chuck one of these things into the ocean. Like
right.
I just like that was like almost immediate.
That's
like I'm going to destroy the TVs.
We were on the phone and you're like, I have this idea, and you started telling me the TV idea, and then I think at the end I had said something like, yeah, I wonder if something can happen to the TV at the very end. And you're like, I already got that, man. I'm going to chuck this thing into the ocean. And I was like, oh, sweet, you already had that plan. And that's what I love about your work is every decision you make is very intentional. You can tell when you're watching it that you're not just doing something random just because.
I hope so.
No.
I mean, I hope it comes across that way.
Yeah, like I'm still finding things, and this happened with the last video you did for me. I'll watch it, and I'll find things that you did. They feel intentional. They feel symbolic of the song and the music. Like, for example, when you first see the TVs go outside, and it's a shot next to the dead end sign. And in that shot, I didn't notice it until literally this morning when I was watching through it. You have the sun, like, right above the TVs in a way that it almost looks like a halo above the head. To me, it's like when I saw that with the sun above my head, it was like I can be somebody else's helper in helping them if they're struggling with something like this. Sounds like you had a vision for how that shot was going to be with the sun there, and that's what I love about your work is it does leave things open for interpretation for the viewer, just like I like to make my songs that way.
And I think this is why we get along so well. It's sort of a philosophy on like what art ought to be. Yeah. It's not my job to take a specific message and cram it down someone's throat. Yeah. It's my job to find a meaning and then communicate it in a way that other people can apply it to their own lives.
What was this building that you put the TV next to? It's like abandoned looking building. What is that?
The video was filmed on Topsail Island, and it has several of these structures on it. Right after World War II, a lot of missile testing was done right off the coast in the ocean there, and these towers were observation towers. I've been going to this island since I was little. I'd always seen these things, and I always thought, like, visually, they're just very beautiful and impactful.
That brings a whole new level of meaning to the video for me now. I mean, being a watchman on the coast.
It was like I'm kind of putting the TVs looking out to the sea.
Looking for the danger. No, another shot that I didn't realize until later was in there, and it's so subtle, but like, for me, it was impactful because you see the TVs on the dock, right along the lyrics that say, "Show me what you need." The bottom TV shows, what is it, another pier,
It's like a pier. It's like an ocean.
Yeah, it's like a long.
It's out in the ocean.
A long pier
like
to
a
the
fishing
ocean.
pier, basically.
So like that can mean whatever the viewer wants it to mean, but I just thought that was cool because it's like, show me what you need, and then the TV shows us this beautiful pier that shoots out into the ocean. So just like little things like that, there's so many subtleties that literally every time I watch this video, I always pick out something new. And that's how it was with your other video too. It's like, oh, I love how you do this, and I love how you do that because it means this for me. And
if I am connected with the song and the meaning, I don't think it's far-fetched for me to make a choice without really having a reason that I can articulate. Right. Sometimes there's a reason in here. In the gut. Even if it's not something you can explain, it's in here. And then you come back and you're like, oh, the reason for that. And it's something that was in here, but not necessarily
Well, that's the whole thing, I think, with songwriting, too. Even with songwriting, I'll write a song, and then years later, I'll realize, oh, that's why I put that in there. There's at least 2 or 3 songs on my album now that I released 2 years ago that have to do exactly with what we're dealing with right now. It's just amazing how art in general can do that. If you create it in a way that is open for interpretation, you can write a song or create a video that has a new meaning to relate with a different time, 10 years from now.
And that's what makes something timeless. I would love it if some of the art I make manages to age like that.
Yeah, that's for sure. One more spot that I wanted to mention too was the jellyfish. You had it like flash back and forth between the TV, which is now in the ocean or face down, and this dead jellyfish. The way you changed that in the final edit, I was like, okay, we got to keep that. At first I didn't know what it was. I was like, what is that thing in the...
Your wife thought it was a skull?
Yeah, so I showed my wife, I showed Sarah, my wife, that scene, and I was like, what does that look like to you? But she was like, it looks like a skull. I was like, oh, it totally does. Oh. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty dark. After you edited it like that with flashing back and forth to the TVs, I was like, okay, that has meaning, kind of showing a juxtaposition of this dead creature and then this dead TV that's about to be washed away.
The editing process of this video speaks a lot to your talent and ability to give concise notes that are driven by purpose. And I respect you a lot for this because...
Thanks, man.
Your feedback always came back to a vision. If you remember the first cuts I sent you, or the first little taste, like I had someone like water skiing behind one of the TVs in the background, which I liked as a shot. I was like, that's cool, someone's water skiing. But you correctly kind of said, yeah, but let's take the life out of this.
It's interesting, and I'm not going to take the credit for that, because when I first saw that shot of the water ski and the boat in the background, I knew that I wasn't a fan of it, but I couldn't put my finger on why. And so that's when I showed Sarah. Sarah, my wife, is awesome at this. Like, she's my best sounding board ever for a creative and an artist, because I show her my songs too, and I say, why don't I like this line, or why don't I like that line, or why does this need to change? So I showed her that part. I was like, why do I not like that part? And she says, and this was all her idea, she said the rest of this video is kind of like this post-apocalyptic world where, everything is, there's no life in it. That was totally her call, and I was like, oh wow. And that's when I typed it out to you and said, hey, can we just try to eliminate all life out of this?
Those kind of notes redirected me to really understand that not only was that an idea, but that was a very important point.
We had talked about the juxtaposition between the verses, which are very dark, and the choruses being a more beautiful and safe feeling. I think you did that really well with the editing too, because the choruses look brighter, more colorful than the darker verses.
We'd have conversations sometimes where it's like, okay, let me just get you on the phone for like 5 minutes and we'll just talk about, I have 2 things I need to talk about, and they would evolve into these long conversations.
Let me talk to you for 2 minutes, and then it turned into an hour.
Right, and not even about, it became less about the specifics, like this one shot, and more about the overall like idea of the video. Music videos are a unique thing too, because I'm essentially taking your art and putting my art on it, like 2 ingredients on a sandwich, and hoping it still tastes good when you bite it.
Well done, man. Such a good video.
It was a pleasure.
Just to finish off here, where can people find your work? Where can people follow you?
I do have a professional Facebook page. It's at Adam Ingram Perry Film. I have an Instagram page at Adam Ingram Perry. And I have a website, www.adamingramperry.com.
Perfect. For people watching this that might also be musicians, are you up for hire? Or how can they contact you?
Absolutely. Send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, my website. There is a contact page where you can send me a direct message, and I will get it, and I do check it.
Cool. cool.
So I am up for hire. I'm also up for travel.
I'd love to fly you out here and do another video with you. And I've even considered opening it up to the Futures group and asking members what song on the album would you like to see a music video of next.
I can't wait to do another video.
Let's do it. I'll put it on the calendar.
Awesome.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me, and I'm excited to see what other art we get to create together in the future.
Same thing, man. I had a great time.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please follow, like, subscribe across all the socials for Fenwick and the Futures. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.